Hello, name's Alan. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today I got quite a fun build. A very fun, very strong build that I played in Boss Rush previously. In fact, I couldn't get enough of it. That's why I'm here today, to replay it. I always wanted to. I think this could be an absolute blast to your average player. This build is easy to pull off. It's very rewarding. You can do a plethora of different things, but most importantly, it has great damage and fantastic synergies. Let's get right into it. Today's build is number 34 in both the Boss Rush and the Chaos Trial Saga. It is the Skillful Spearman. We are going to be cosplaying as a gladiator type of fighter, mostly fighting with long-range, piercing, spear-like weaponry, trying to impale our enemies. Put their heads on sticks and ram them into the ground, am I right? And with that having been said, let's get right into the build, shall we? For our robe, we're going to be using the all robe, as we are trying to gather and impress and repeatedly entertain and bring back an audience to us, the great gladiator. So thematically this fits, but more importantly, this is a great damage enhancement tool. And why so, you might ask? We have very high damage abilities and a very high damage starter relic here today, so combining that with more damage like a Fury Robe or Venture always works, but we want to be special. We want to hit those large crits, those gripping fights, if you will, those impressive single hits or AoE hits. We want to hit those massive numbers that impress everyone and entertain everyone and makes them want to come back to watch us fight. So the all robe thematically fits, but also functionally it does fit. This grants us 10% increased critical hit chance, which is fantastic with these abilities. Trust me, this is so good. So much extra damage, and on top of all that, increases our critical hit damage by 25%. This can be enhanced to be even more than it already is. This robe is quite frankly impressive with this build, and it is just so good. It's not a consistent damage up, but we want burst. Occasional high burst damage from hitting crits on many different enemies. That's what we want. Now, when a critical hit is calculated, when it is drawn, so to speak, it counts for the entire ability, or one hit of the entire ability. If I use an ability that impales multiple people at a given time, that crit is applied to all of them, because that crit is applied to that one use of the Arcana, unless it's a multi-use Arcana, in which case it's only applied to the one use of the many uses of one use of the Arcana. You get what I'm saying? We are using single use, high damage, sort of AoE in a line way, in a line piercing way, abilities that synergize very well with drawing a critical hit, which is fantastic. They already do great damage, and then when you can multiple targets with one ability at a given time, it's not just a super boring large bolt claimer, for example, or explosive fireball that hits like half the screen. No, it's a spear, which you have to accurately calculate in order to even connect that to multiple targets. It is not too easy on paper, but in practice, this build, you could probably play it blindfolded and still do well. I love it. I absolutely love it. So without further rambling, let's move on to the starting relic, which is a bit of an unusual pick, but it definitely fits the gladiator theme as well. It is the offensive gloves of Gambit. I would much prefer the name Gloves of Combat than Gambit. I don't get why these are called Gambit gloves. Doesn't make too much sense to me. Maybe that's a reference to a game or real life. Not sure. I love the way they look. I love the way they so demonically shine. But that's not why we're using them. We are using them in order to increase the damage of all our Arcana. Increases the damage for all projectile Arcana by 12%. Right at the get-go, that's a very high damage increase. Now, usually what you want to relate it to is those very strong damage increases, your average strong damage increase of 20% from your average strong damage-related cursed item. So, in regards to that, we're only missing 8%. That's not a whole lot. This is very, very good. And it counts for all of Arcana. All of them are ranged. And it combines very nicely. It stacks up very nicely with critical hits. The more base damage you have, the more damage a critical hit will do. Proportionally, I believe. I'm not sure what the equation is, but it is generally a very nice combination. Let's move on to Arcana though. For our basic, we're going to be using the first long-range piercing spear-like ability, which is naturally going to be Perforating Jet. A wind ability, you might ask? Yeah, because apparently there is no ice ability that can pierce enemies like a long-range spear. I mean, Ice Dagger would work if it were a little bit longer. It would absolutely get the job done like a spear, but the Perforating Jet is a lot more thematically on par with this build, because we essentially throw these little daggers or these little spears. Well, the description says jet streams of air, but that just sounds a lot less exciting than it actually is. This is a very long-range piercing, rather slow ability, let's be honest, but it deals pretty okay damage, and it's decent at keeping enemies stun-locked and keeping them in check, just occasionally hitting one that is quite far away from you to interrupt their attacks, for example. This can be used in a variety of ways. I'm not a huge fan of this Arcana by any means, but I have recently come to like it a little more, also thanks to this build. I have come to appreciate it a little more. Looks like so. Look at that crit chance, man. Look at that range. I even outranged them. Wow. And that signature charge generation is also sweet. Now, what does this do when enhanced? Each activation has an additional hit, so it's just slightly more damage. It's like having that one starter relic, the snake badge thingy, I don't know what it's called, that makes every basic Arcana hit have a tiny extra hit to deal a little bit of extra damage, which definitely stacks up quite quickly, especially when you hit multiple enemies at a given time like this. Yeah. You can also retarget it very easily, though it is a little bit clunky to do that. I strongly recommend you don't do that. This is an ability that can be easily cancelled, but again, I strongly recommend you don't do that. When you actually use this, as it is kind of slow, kind of clunky, I recommend you stick with it. Just go for the entire attack and then move around again. If you can't guarantee that that's gonna be a thing that you're going to be able to do, that don't attack in the first place. Just wait for enemies to climb up and then unleash on them. This is just a nice, helpful tool when our other abilities are on cooldown. Speaking of which, let's move on to our dash, which is going to be Frostwing, which you could have possibly already deduced just by the animation earlier. Frostwing isn't exactly a spear, but again, what exactly in this build is a spear? Not much. There are not that many spears in this game. Frostwing leaves behind, initially, 4 glacial spikes that fly into various directions, kind of like wings launching from your back, the back of your character. So let's say I'm dashing to the left here, these are gonna fly to the right in about a 180-degree angle, but keep in mind it's only 4, so you don't cover 180 degrees by any means. These are just sort of random directions. Let's take a look at it. Yep, looks like so. It has a decent coverage, but the hitbox is very odd. It's very, very weird hitting this consistently on an enemy. You will miss frequently. It's just a nice little extra hit. It looks quite vicious. It looks like tossing a bunch of spears behind you. Yes, it doesn't pierce, but it freezes enemies and deals good damage. And once you actually upgrade it, it throws out a bunch of additional frost feathers that will then hit your enemies, which is nice. Just love to see it. You can use this rather defensively or passively. Just when you dash around, it will occasionally hit enemies. That's what we are using it for. Just by casually dashing around. It has a rather long cooldown though, so you won't be seeing this too often. You can also use it to pop chests by dashing through them like so. Keep in mind that the feathers will always launch from the back of your character, so when you dash through a chest that you can't usually walk through, somehow you get stuck in the chest a little bit, and these things have a large enough hitbox to hit something that's in front of you as well. So they would immediately pop the chest, which is nice. I do like doing that. It's a neat trick I learned a while back. Other than that, this is not a very powerful dash by any means. It's just one that I really like. It freezes enemies, even though it is somewhat at random when and which enemies it's going to freeze. Nonetheless, it does that, which is quite helpful when trying to group enemies up, position yourself in a more advantageous way to be able to hit everything in a line and to stun lock enemies and keep them in check and don't even allow them to come back at you. So it stacks up very nicely with the rest of the build. We do want to get this upgraded at some point, but it's not super important, unlike our basic. Moving on to our standard, which is going to be Chaos Arcana. So we don't have to upgrade this at all. It is enhanced, it can't be unenhanced, it can't be enhanced further. It is going to be the Mortal Coil. Very nice Arcana. Love this one. Love, love, love this one. It could be our signature as well, but I decided against that because the signature we're actually going to be using for this build is a little more on par with the theme here, and in my opinion it's also stronger damage-wise than this. So this is a Chaos Arcana, meaning that is innately overpowered, has very high damage, and probably destroys projectiles in one or more ways. Now the signature definitely does that. I'm not sure the actual ability without the signature part of it does destroy projectiles. I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did, let's put it that way. Also, since this counts as a projectile, as all of the tools in this build today, you could technically make this destroy projectiles, right? So what does it do? It's a very long-range spear that pierces your enemies and then pulls back towards you whatever it hit. It draws back in the spear, so to speak. It's like a harpoon more so than a spear. Looks like so. Very high damage. Crit chance, super important. Very, very strong signature charge generator. When you hit multiple enemies, has quite a large hitbox. It is very thick. Not that easy to miss, but you can end up missing it. Okay, I tried demonstrating there. It is not that easy to miss by any means. Okay, can I... No, it is really not that easy to miss it. Now, the initial line, the initial harpoon toss, you can miss rather easily. But then the drawback, the literal drawback, the arrow seems to be a little larger. So the end of this sort of skill shot, that starts, when it starts reeling enemies back towards you, seems to be a little larger than just tossing the ability flat out. So you will usually end up hitting pretty much all targets you're going for. Now this combos out very nicely when combined with the Frostwings, as we can pull them towards us and then dash through them, hopefully dealing a bunch of damage to them like so, and then also freezing all of them, and then we can follow that up with our basic. We could also just use it to group up enemies like so. We can also just use it to get them close and stun lock, and then dash away from them, not just through them. So it's this, and then simply dash away, regroup, and keep attacking them. It's a very nice Arcana. It has very high damage. This can't be understated how high the damage numbers on these Chaos Arcana are. This is ridiculous. I just love it. And it's enhanced. Again, it's 100 less gold you gotta spend over the course of your run. It's also projectile, so easily enhanceable by items such as the Gloves of Gambit. And with that out of the way, let's move on to our final Arcana, the signature of this build. It's of course the Ice Spear, sort of the name bearer to this build. Now, why would I pick the Ice Spear over a Chaos Arcana that would clearly probably be much stronger as a signature, as it is a Chaos Arcana and can destroy a variety of projectiles? Well, because the spear is quite simple. You can hold a spear, you can hold it for as long as you want, and then pick a direction and just toss it. It will pierce the enemies, it will try to pin them into a wall. When it successfully does, it deals extra damage and freezes them. This has a huge range, it's very fast, it has a huge coverage of situations that you can use it in, things that you can use it for. It looks absolutely mind-blowingly gorgeous. I love this ability so much. It's also goofy that you can keep holding it and retarget it. I can release it at any given point, and you can tell that the cooldown hasn't started yet. So it starts as soon as I throw the ability, as I then actually use the ability. I can easily shove people into pits with this. It has a massive knockback, and then the pin also feels very rewarding. Looks like so. Yeah, it deals double damage essentially whenever you pin. And I love this ability. You can combine it with the rest of the build very nicely like so. And the signature throws a bunch of these spears. As you can tell, I can hold all of them like so. And I will then throw them one by one. It's not 100% accurate. It is easily missable when you cast it from a very long distance onto an enemy that's off screen, for example, or moving very quickly. Because they don't throw in a straight line. It's a rather straight line, but it's not 100% straight. But man, this deals so much damage. I love it. Thematically, I feel like that signature is way more on par with the rest of the build when compared to the signature of the Mortal Coil, which essentially just pulls enemies back in and then also procs the tornado. So it does this and then procs one of those shadowy Surah tornadoes around your character, which destroy everything and just deal very high damage. I don't like that nearly as much as the Glacial Spear for this build here, as we are, after all, insert name, the Impaler. So we don't care much about stupid tornadoes, we just want to impale our enemies. And with that having been said, I think we shall move on, right? This build is, quite frankly, very simple. Let's move on to the intended build playstyle. We want to be rather aggressive with this build. Of course, as per usual with most builds, you like enemies naturally climbing up when walking towards you. So if you just withdraw a little bit from combat, just walk back a little bit through that corridor, you will allow enemies to naturally group up without you having to risk a single HP point of your health bar. Or really getting stun locked or dying, for example. You don't risk anything by doing that. So it is rewarding. It's, as per usual, I might add, rewarding to have a bit of a defensive mindset whenever necessary, whenever applicable to a situation. But generally speaking, you can be very aggressive. But you really, really, really like enemies to climb up with this build. So into mini bosses as well. Let's take the Lancer or the Knight, for example. I really want all of them to line up, so just kill all of them. I throw the spear through the small knights, they collide with the big guy, and since he's a big guy, he can't be frozen, nor can he be pierced or pinned into a wall. It will essentially recognize him as an obstacle and then pin the enemies to that obstacle, so it deals double damage. And I hit all of them at the same time. I kill the ads while also hitting the boss. That's goals. That's what I always want to do. I always want to group up all the enemies and then push everything into the boss so everything dies and the boss takes a hefty chunk of damage. I love doing that, and yeah, so I'm going to try to do that as often as possible. This also obviously is applicable to regular rooms, though in regular rooms you don't have to necessarily do that. It's more a matter of how efficiently do you wish to kill enemies? You can kill most rooms in probably just the use of two abilities. One very well placed Glacial Spear, and then follow that up with a Mortal Coil and a bunch of basics, and everything should be dead, realistically. You can also often end up simply pushing things into pits, though be wary that the Glacial Spear is so ridiculously fast that it has the possibility, and that actually happens a lot depending on how you play, of pushing enemies across pits, entirely over them. Okay, this thing is so fast, it flies so far, it can easily pin them across pits. It's such a goofy thing when it happens, but I love it. I just love it. I love the innate properties of this ability. It's fantastic. With that having been said, let's move on to the potential problems of this build. I can't really think of any, except maybe the general 360-degree coverage. We do have only Frost Wings, which works behind us or in a rather large AoE. Other than that, we don't have any abilities that work in our favor when we are getting swarmed by enemies. We might have to take damage occasionally to make enemies group up so we can kill them faster, or to even allow for us to break free from a certain imprisonment situation, so to speak. So yeah, keep that in mind. Always leave some HP open. Don't be on a low HP count all the time. It's definitely not helpful doing that by any means. It's quite harmful to how this build is meant to be played, which is mostly very aggressively, and therefore you always need some spare HP so you can trade your HP for enemy kills. And then finally, for my favorite section, recommended items in Arcana. Everything projectile related, everything crit chance related, everything high base damage related is great. Everything signature related is fantastic. You absolutely love it. This signature is incredibly strong, deals so much damage, it charges up so quickly. So pretty much all of the damage builds are viable on this, including stones, which are okay. You are not always in range for the stones to proc, but often you will find yourself being able to proc a stone simply by pulling enemies closer, stun locking them, and you will have pretty much procced a stone at that point, and then you can just dash out and keep attacking them like so. So stones are not terrible, they do work, but I strongly recommend investing into very good items, very strong, solid items. For example, the rocket is absolutely insane. Just keeping the signature charge income steady is so goddamn strong. Infinity Marble even works with this. You generate so much signature. Cursed Relics are absolutely fantastic. You love Double Trouble so much. You don't need cooldown reduction here for the most part, just very high burst damage will get the job done. Cooldown reduction does work if you intend to hit like a wet noodle and then hit enemies over and over and over again, but this is not exactly the build to do that. This is the build. This is the build to deal very high crit damage, very high damage period per hit, and kill enemies in 1 or 2 hits. That's what you want to do, that's what you strive to do, that's how it's meant to be played, that's how I intended for it to be played, and that's how I wish for you to play it. In terms of extra Arcana, just generally very overpowered Arcana are fantastic with this build. You want items, you want Arcana such as jumps, for example. You love Permafrost Bulwark. You love things that make you faster, like Scales of Babylon are fantastic, also giving you cooldown reduction, huge AoE coverage. It just pretty much gets rid of all those minor issues, being cooldown reduction, 360-degree coverage, and movement speed, dodging capabilities rather. So that that Arcana, making the same mistake here again, is absolutely fantastic with this build. Other than that, a Evading Zephyr can be very strong, so you can just walk around a bunch in order to dodge things much more easily. And other than that, you can pretty much just go for whatever you want. If you want a little more range, go for an Explosive Fireball, for example. Then you can bait out enemies slightly more easily. Enemies that otherwise you wouldn't even be able to see. Say there's a room and it's a slight bit off screen, then you can go ahead and toss a fireball in there to bait them out, and then follow that out with all your spears, pin them into a wall, group them up, and finish them off. You have plenty of options what to go for. What I strongly recommend you shouldn't do is try and go for a basic Arcana build, as I find it doesn't even work well for this basic Arcana, generally speaking. But this build really doesn't need any deviations from the main road, the main goal of just having a shitload of damage in whichever form achievable. Now, defense also decently works out for this build, though again, that's not the main focus. If you don't end up finding any better items, any damage-related items over the course of your run, okay, go ahead, pick up your utility items like healing, pick up your defense. Sometimes, you know, like in all roguelikes, sometimes you are bombarded with defense items, but there's just no damage inside. Might as well pick those up. But other than that, go for that big boy. Go for that nuke of a spear, straight into the face of your enemies. And with that having been said, I believe we can conclude the build introduction. Let's move on with the run here. We don't want to avoid anyone in particular. I am going to start the run here, though I'm going to pause and be right back. Okay, back at it again. Had to take some calls. Pardon. Let's move on with the run. Let's get it started. Come on, you guys. Sweet damage, dude. Holy shit. Okay, poke them from afar. I missed that barrel. It's okay, I can just shove them into the pit. Oh, come on. Honestly, don't care about you, Mr. Lancer. I am clearly out of practice here, but we are in for a ride. This is gonna be fun nonetheless. Into the statue they go. And we find a Glove of Midas right away. That's more gold gain from all sources, which is fantastic. Always want to pick that up. Hit the lamp. Okay. What the hell do we do here, I wonder? It's kind of hard to tell, honestly. I do really like the Carter's Prime. Carter's Prime, however you pronounce that. It is quite helpful when playing hyper-aggressively. But I guess it's a little too early to commit to 200 gold for an Arcana that might only come in handy into bosses. Doesn't even block projectiles. Or if it does, I should say, it doesn't do it well enough for me to recognize it for doing that well. I don't care about taking damage this early on. It's unavoidable. Just hit them into the wall. Don't even bother. Ah. I was gonna Glacial Spear him. I missed the button, apparently. Oh, come on. Trying to do some dumb shit here, just experimenting a little bit. Keep in mind, I have never played this into regular enemies, just mini bosses and bosses. Gonna try and hit everyone here. I shoved someone across the pit. Lovely. Wait for everyone to group up. And then spear them into the wall. Okay, okay, okay. I feel like I'm a little slow today, so apologies if that is the case. If that may be the case, it's probably due to me being quite tired still. I would honestly love to lie in bed right now, but instead, I'm here to play some Wizard of Legend, and then I gotta work. Sleep is fantastic. Is there anyone who doesn't love sleeping? Realistically. I mean, it's fantastic. Animals do it all day long. Humans absolutely love it. Wrong order. Should have used the Glacial Spear first. So I could have used the base version and the signature for maximum DPS output. I wasn't expecting the huge jump in signature charge. We have full cleared this, so let's just move on. Pretty good basic damage, surprisingly. 1400 on this ability? Really? Must have hit a lot of people. If I get just a slight damage up, I'm gonna be able to one-shot all these squishy enemies. I don't think I'll be needing to collect too much money here since I already got a glove. Pretty much doing that for me. Always willing to trade some health. Come on. Can't even kill a tree with that? Really? Really, though? Ooh, more crit chance. Strongman's is really nice too with this build. It is definitely thematic. Love the extra damage though from the crit chance. That could be potentially amazing, especially with the Robe. Potentially the Robe upgrade. Strongman's is really good though. I don't care much about increased cooldowns as I have a lot of signature charge generation, so I can frequently use the very bottom line, my signature, but I am gonna go for the Crimson Clover here. I believe that's just a lot more fun, and it can escalate quite quickly by me taking too much damage, or just one-shotting enemies. There's always two sides to the spectrum. Hello everyone. How are y'all doing? This is not exactly a damage increase, but it's a subtle, occasional damage increase, which I am all for. I love that. Now, Pazoos is nice. It's very nice. Having a revive this early on means I can easily pick up a Halo later. I can drop it whenever I want, the Pazoos hat. I can do a bunch of shenanigans, but be hyper aggressive. I can trade my health for a bunch of stuff, like money. That's great. Very favorable to an aggressive playstyle to grab an early revive item, and I think that's what I'm gonna be doing here. Also, it looks fucking great, but you can't bounce it. For some reason, it's a hat that you can't bounce. Very annoying. 0 out of 10. Okay, just wait for the rock tosses. Freeze them. Group them up. And yoink them! Yar har, I'm the pirate. Blackbeard the Impaler. I was gonna say imposter for a second. God damn it. This game just plagues my mind to this day. The Among Us trauma. Using it against the wall there, just so I can hit a great number of enemies. I'm gonna attack the non-contact damage ops first, the ones that shoot projectiles, as they pose a greater threat than the non-projectile siblings. Let's also grab the final Sharpie, even though we technically won't need it. I do like grabbing myself an Arcana upgrade occasionally. It's gonna synergize well with items like the Luxury Handbag, so it's always a decent pickup. Vortex Sphere is also really nice for projectile destruction, also for us to be incredibly aggressive. I don't think we'll be able to afford it, but we might. We got a Glove of Midas after all. Always stun lock. Just a quick jab into them before using your signature and going off. Because then they can't do much about it. I believe it was 125, so we still can't afford it. Kind of a bummer, but well, what can you do? Let's just move on. Didn't exactly take a look at these dungeons. We're gonna be seeing Freya and the Thunder Twins. That's great. I love Atlas. I love Freya. Thunder Twins are a very fun fight for the most part. Sometimes not so much. I feel like when you can't kill off the minions, it's annoying. Oh, didn't move quite far enough there. Bye-bye. I was gonna say Thunder Twins are quite fun as long as you can somehow take care of them quickly now, so they don't swarm you with their minions, or they don't even get to spawn their minions because you can one-shot them or two-shot them, so you one-shot 2 of them and then kill a 3rd of them, or even leave it alive, who cares. As long as there are not 3 on the board present at a given time, you shouldn't be in too great a trouble. Because my god, those things are annoying as fuck. They get you interrupted non-stop. And the Thunder Twins become a lot more difficult when they are on the board and you can't clear them out. Thanks to the AoE of the Glacial Spear Pin there, we could easily finish everyone off. Rock the barrels. So you can't do that, huh? How's that feel? Just shock them. It will refreeze them, it will get rid of the rogue attack. One spear is enough, so we're just gonna cancel it, walk out of it. Walk the plank! Keep one of them busy with the shot. Okay. I don't think I want to buy any of these, thank you. Moving on. Oh, come on. It shattered on the projectile. Oh no, it shattered on the wall. Keep hitting the pillar there. I just wanted to kill all of them in one use of my ability. Come on. Is that too much to ask for? We got a few very, very good items in here. I'm particularly excited about the Stanza of Frost, as I have two, well now three Frost-related Arcana, thanks to the Shark. This is a lot of extra damage. Also, the Assassin's Blade is very, very good. Very, very good. Oh my god, dude, these items. Amulet of Sunder, that's just so much extra damage. The Stanza is fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Oh my god, I keep hitting the fucking pillows. Stitches. I have to get the Assassin's Dagger first, as that symbolizes potential. With the Clover especially, that is fantastic. So the Shark. Aw, come on, I didn't pull them properly. Come on, group up. Be nice. Be nice, I said. Don't be an asshole. You get rid of the barrels, one by one. Get rid of these guys. Come on, I missed the archer. No, no more shields. Stop that. Immediately. Come on, bro. Okay. We are missing Nox here. So let's take a deep dive into the rest of the floor. Yar har, my friends. My mateys. Okay, nothing wild in here. The glass cannon is easily the best item in here. So I shall take it. It's just a great damage increase. And then in here we still have the Stanza of Frost, which is fantastic. I'm gonna prefer that over the straight up damage increase to all abilities, because first of all I have 3 Frost abilities, which are now my main abilities damage wise. But also, this thing combines with a cursed item, so it allows for slightly more versatility. Sure, that cursed item in question doesn't exactly do anything for us, but I might be rewarded for picking up as many cursed items as possible. There are plenty of other items that reward me for doing so. Such as the Curse Eater's outfit. The vest, the backpack, and the mask. Is it called the mask? I think it's called the mask, yeah. The raccoon mask. Poor raccoon. Loves to eat curses all day long. Oh yeah, the damage is great for once. let's hope we will stay there. That's not a mimic, is it? Oh, I failed the shock throw. Oh well. Slightly too far. I am very unsure of how to get through those unscathed. I would have just guessed it's about the timing. Oh, wait a minute. Doorbell ringing. Alright, moving on. There's a lot going on today. Let's wait for that ugly-ass cursor to vanish. The cursor! Thank you. Piss off, my friend. Ooh, sweet ice attacks. Now the only issue is your aim, my friend. He sat missing a skill shot. Methodically. I don't see any great items in that pile, to be frank, so let's just move on. Let's not even consider them. I don't care much about your Arcana. Got everything I need. Careful with the icy decoys. Oh yeah, that's called kiting, my friend. You should probably learn what that means and how to do it. No. I imagine that'd be quite helpful. As a stupid-ass thief, you have so much potential, but you're wasting it all. Bye. Always helpful dashing into a wall. For that sweet, sweet frostwing damage, which is a lot, by the way. No. No, no projectiles. Come on, you guys. Frostwing also does destroy projectiles, though doesn't destroy them reliably, just as much as it doesn't deal damage reliably, as long as it's not enhanced. Luckily, our frost wings are enhanced, so they hit a lot more frequently, both projectiles and enemies. Quite a useful Arcana. Whenever you can, do something like this. That's a neat trick. It's pretty much everyone in the room. Or at the very least, destroys a bunch of random projectiles coming your way. Random projectiles, sorry. Talking. You know how it is. It's hard. Dash through the thief. Let's be nimble. We can't panic in the face of danger. We can't. We have to stay nimble and agitated. Faithful to the ideals of a gladiator. Please be Nox, please be Nox, please be Nox. Yes! And it's a good one! It's a damn good one. We find Paranomassacon and the useless Stanza of Flames. But still, it's a Stanza of Flames regardless. I mean, we could combine them. Does it make sense? No. I don't think so. I don't think it does anything when combining it. I think it's still just increased ice damage, and then the fire damage part obviously doesn't matter at all. So probably just the para, huh? Just the para, he said. Yeah, I just did that. Fuck you. Key would be quite useful if this weren't the fucking amethyst key, so that is easily the most useless key of all of them. However, it might still get us closer to the exit, allowing for us to rush slightly easier. Just finish him off with the shot. I don't care about you peasants. Shark, fetch! Good boy. Moving on. Hello, Freya. I love Freya. This is such fun every time. I love getting here, love the dungeon. It's a challenge every time. Yes, being frozen sucks. It feels bad, so don't get frozen. But it feels even better than bad. I know. Duh. Hard to achieve. To not be frozen, to dodge the freeze consistently. And that's why I love going here. Love the traps, I love the rooms, I love the boss. Even though she's a bit of a bitch sometimes. Ultimately... Oh, I'm an idiot. Ultimately, she's very fun. And the dungeon is very fun. And the enemies here are very fun. And the freeze element, the frost element rather, is very, very fun. Water generally, such a cool Arcana type in this game. There are just so many great water Arcana. Even just regular enemy abilities are cool as fuck. And they can stunlock for days. I love that. I absolutely love that. I love stunlocking them just as much as they probably enjoy stunlocking me as a player. Very wonky pull there. Holy shit, we can also combine the shark with the dynamo now. In a very weird way, so it will keep enemies closer to the middle of the shark area. Pretty much guaranteeing that they will be hit by the large shark bite. Very, very stupid combination. Never seen that before. I love it. I absolutely love it. At this point, we only care about our main shop and the potential of finding a Nox, and that's really it. Trading health is not an issue. Stop always dashing behind me, though. Mimic! It's not a mimic. Even the chests are afraid of us. Even the filthy rich mimics will not oppose us. Okay, TP behind me. Not like it matters or anything. Don't care. Don't care. Hey Pinata, I do not care about you either, to be honest. That's nice. I like that. It's pretty darn good. I'll actually equip it. It is probably worse for doing flaws than the dynamo, but it deals very high damage. And isn't that all that counts at the end of the day? Keep him stun locked. Oh hey. It feels good. Aww, that's rude. Go into the pit. Back to your friends. Nice teleports, try again. Boom. Come on, stop ignoring me. The shark is just a gimmick. Come on. Use a bit of brain power, please, my guy. Okay. Extra fire and lightning damage, limited edition robe is an easy buy. Armor of Resolve is okay. Works with the limited edition robe, sort of. Movement speed we don't exactly need, so let's just take this and bounce. Trying to hit the melee gem as well, because god they suck to fight. Sucks to be randomly stun-locked by one of those, doing their filthy thing. And then we just move on, we don't care much about the rest of the map there. It was only 4% anyway, but I wouldn't have cared had it been 70% either. Just want to move on, have a good time, finish off this sweet-ass run. Can I do this? I can't. It'd be so cool if I were able to lob that through a wall. It's kind of hard to work with this crowded space here, but my god, we have so much damage. We have so many synergies at this point that it's getting kind of hard to decide which one is my favorite. The Shark plus Wind Sentry is fantastic. Shark plus the bouncing, no, the Dynamo, the third Dynamo is also great. Shark generally is great, no matter what I pair it with. Limo sleeve, soccer cleats, don't care much about the cleats. I'll take the leaf, as this is just another broken item. Also, I like the gyroscopic inkwell, because then we can build up our signature slightly more reliably, and slightly more often. Now we just need to find Nox. Is this gonna be a Kremire, a Dr. Songs, maybe just another Nox? We'll see. Hopefully it's someone who means business. You guys are too slow. I'm sorry. Come on. Hey, thieves. Oh, archers, actually. Holy crap. Hello. This room again, huh? I did not mean to throw it there, but I mean, I hit the middle. Golden middle, and we found Nox. Sweet. So we can get the hell out of here. Okay. Interesting choices. This is a lot of extra damage. Or the armor. The armor is also very good, because that's what we are certainly lacking. We have a little bit of defense. I guess we can toss the Inkwell. We can also toss the Pazoos, but I don't really want to get rid of that. I have quite a risky build. So instead I think I'll just unenhance all Arcana. Which is fine by me. Most of these are not super important at this point. I'm just trying to kill a boss. Frozen Bait does more damage when enhanced. And so absolutely does the Wind Sentry, but they are, regardless, very good abilities nonetheless. And I might still end up finding the upgrade here on the Sora stage. Okay. Let's just move on. Think I will be receiving plenty of healing here from these orbs. Indeed. Let's lob the Shark first and then the Sentry, because those are quite slow, but they deal a large amount of damage to idle targets. And these almost always remain idle at the beginning of the fight. Oh, come on. Come on! Die a little faster. Cool. I don't really need that. Don't really care for that. Let's just move on. Take him out one by one. I love the decoy, it's just so cool. Wait, what? It didn't even hit. Didn't even connect with the enemy there. What the hell? Hehehe. Frostwing upgrade. And the takeout box, which is nice because I can abuse the fact that that thing remains active for a while. Pick it up. Grab the healing out here. Let's grab the Frostwing upgrade. Let's grab the healing pot. And then drop the takeout box. And fetch back the Inkwell. Let's do this. Frostwing upgrade is perfect, helps a lot with these shadowy balls. That is easily the best upgrade we could have drawn here. Even though Wind Sentry is a close second, damage-wise, it's a great damage upgrade. I love this Arcana generally, it's just so good. Come on, let me lob the shark. Keep in mind I have shielded health, so I'm not affected by a stun duration when being hit at all, in fact. I can just walk through damage without being interrupted, as long as the shield health remains. And that's it, my friend. Rest in pieces. We did have a backup plan for being hit. We had plenty of healing. We had a Limo sleeve that we could have abused, together with a gyroscopic inkwell. That's just a nice combination. Right, let's lose the Pirate Hat. It looks kind of goofy. It didn't drop health orbs on this stage. Interesting, I've never dropped it on this stage, I don't think, but good to know that it doesn't actually drop health orbs. Cool. Hope you had a good time. I certainly had a neat run. Just as I would expect from a build as strong as this one, you really don't have to work hard to make this work by any means. Yes, I get stuff like a limited edition robe, like a Limo sleeve, and ultimately a revive as well. But did that really matter? In the end, I only really needed a takeout box and a bunch of damage, and I can just go ham on the boss, right? Just destroy him entirely, without him standing, or them rather, any of them standing the slightest bit of a chance. Takeout box would have been a very viable item early on as well, but I probably would have traded it for something, yeah. Probably for the Armor of Resolve or the Limo sleeve. The inkwell, sorry. But leaf isn't super useful with this build either. I don't dash around a lot. I don't have to be hyper aggressive, attacking enemies while they are attacking me and dashing around the place. I just catch them where I can with these long range abilities, and then dodge the rest of their abilities and one by one burst them down. This is not a build that unleashes all of its power. It's more chunks of damage like this, like that every now and then, like a dash hit every now and then do it all again. I can't exactly be super aggressive. It's not a Fueled Berserk build, for example, where I have to commit to this short window of opportunity to burst them down. No, I just burst them down. Period. No depth to that. No mechanic to that. It's just, yeah. There you go. Every hit does like 1 billion damage. And I do enjoy that playstyle quite a lot, though it does get stale eventually. I do much prefer this with projectiles. I know all of these do on paper count as ranged abilities, but none of them really feel like ranged abilities, except maybe the Glacial Spear. To me anyway, they are supposed to be spears, and I think spears are predominantly not ranged weapons, right? Yeah, it's kind of hard to hit when tossing a spear, right? I think it's a lot easier to stab someone with that thing. It's just an elongated sword. That's what I would use it for as a weapon. That's how I view that weapon. So I much prefer this kind of playstyle, just hitting really hard with projectiles, like Explosive Fireball, like the Bow Claimer, and like the Boulder Toss. I can't exactly remember what it's called, but that is easily my favorite. Just huge AoE projectiles with a rather long range that explode at the end of them. Those are fantastic. But still, regardless how you play this build, I think it gets stale when you play it too often. But maybe it doesn't for you. Maybe you absolutely love this kind of playstyle, and in that case, I envy you a little bit. Thank you for watching, dear viewer. And as per usual, you know how it is. I wish you all a good morning, a good day, or a good night, wherever you are. And until next time, bye-bye.